think our new guest here, his eyes just like went from first time we said it, he's like. The second time we said so excited, he's like, he looked around. Like, are you guys kidding me or not? It's so interesting to see our new people's reaction. He's like. But it's a 48-hour training because, it's not a 48-hour training, it's called 48 hours because we want to conduct it 48 hours after a new business partner start their business, okay? Because, like we said, avoid mistake, create perfect duplication, and set them up for success and create that blueprint for a new partner to know what to do and how to take the correct action rather than, doing their own trial and error. And of course, goals and dreams needs to be inspired. Don't we agree? Because a lot of people, when we work in a 45 years plan, we lost the ability to dream already. People forgot how to dream. People lost their guts to dream. But when we set goals with our 48 hours, right away, they start to what? Dream again. They start to, want something more. And that's when we set our duplication process with personal growth with our new business partner, right? So the next person I want to invite up is someone who's also had tremendous personal growth as well as business growth in the past 6 months to a year, and he actually started taking very massive, consistent action in the past, I would say, almost a year and a half. He's got a huge, his story, which I really like, is because he started with no people skills, right? He came from strong academic background, wrote a book, did master, PhD, all of that crazy stuff, but never had business background nor people skills. So he didn't know all the recruiting and retailing skill sets he developed in this business. So that's why I want him to share with all of us, the personal growth. How did he break through, and how was he able to build up all of that momentum? And not only he's one of the strongest, he's very detailed and organized in terms of organizing names list, and he's done so much, right? 312, 1032, 264 type of massive action. So recently, he's also jumped 2-pin level in the past 6 months, our brand new senior master coordinator, and really continue to lead by example and inspire a lot of us. So without further ado, help me welcome Steve Petro.
Right, Olivia, thank you so much for the introduction. How's everybody doing?
Great.
So my name is Steve. As Olivia detailed, my background has never been a business background. Never really had any social skills, as she said, and it's very, very true because when I came into the business, a lot of what I'm about to share with you in terms of the 48 hours and how to get started with the business really was so far into me. I really didn't understand, even though I was successful in the academic field, I really didn't understand how to translate that into business success because we think differently when we're entrepreneurs than if we are academics and we have to analyze something and we have to structure an essay or write something, right? So what I want to go through is, I think, one of the most important, what I would say is the foundational part of our NUOT, really learning how to get started with the business, what to do with the business when we get started. And this is really, in my opinion, something where if we don't get it done, we really have not started our business. Because we're setting up the foundation for success. If we don't do this with our new business partners, and obviously with ourselves, we're really setting other people up for failure and not success. So we have to master what this training is all about, and I have a marker somewhere. We have to master what this training is all about, and we have to get it trained and done within the first 48 hours, as Olivia was showing. For me, as Olivia talked about, one of the biggest benefits to me in this business has been personal growth. And the reason why I start on that note, on that tone, is because all throughout this, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about basic, simple things that we have to set up when we start our unfranchised business. And these are simple things that we can do, that everybody can do. It's just a matter of personal growth and development and mindset of if we want to, if we're willing to really set these things in place. Does that make sense? So really what I want to start with in this 48 hours training is the first part of our inventory when we start the business. We don't have large inventories like a traditional distribution business, but what is our main inventory in this business? What is our main inventory? It's really our names list when we start out. That's number one. And why is our names list our main inventory? It's because without the names list, this is a people business, it's a team business, and actually any business is founded on names. We got to have contacts. We always in any business have to do that. But that's our main inventory. If we don't have it, we cannot build our business. We have nobody to build with. So we need to develop that. And as I'll go through, key parts of these, the reason why is because we have to develop and we have to divide this category into two categories. We have to look at potential customers and potential business partners. They're both equally important, and I would say when we get started with the business, it's almost more important to develop that customer list first, potential customer list. But what I want to emphasize is it's all about creating possibilities. It's not about creating certainties. This person's going to do it, this person's going to do it. No. What we have to do is we have to create possibilities, and we do that by first really never prejudging. Never prejudging. And I want to give you a story about this, of what this means, never to prejudge, because really I did not get this until some ways into the business. Never prejudge means you don't look at your possibilities list. We don't look at our possibilities list and say this is a person who's going to do it or not going to do it. We have to really engage in the process, go along the process that I will outline here of interviewing, asking questions, and prospecting. And I will go through that shortly. But this is a possibilities list. It's all about possibilities. It's people you know. Just list people you know, not who you think is going to do it. Okay, very, very important. And what is a names list? What constitutes a names list? We got to go into some detail here because I have I'll just share with you guys my names list, and just recently created. This was one that was created right before convention, and this is. So 70 of those names are new names within the previous 2 weeks to convention. And I really categorize and separate them into a couple of groups. I say, okay, who's going to be a product approach? Who's going to be this approach? And I will detail, I don't want to get too deep into that in the outset, but it's really people you know. And what I learned was, I've had several occasions where I've talked with somebody, I said, oh my gosh, this person is just not business-minded at all. And then later on, we learn, we have more conversation, we make friends, which is very important. We have to remember this, is make friends. Once we really make friends and develop that relationship, we get to know more about the person, and that person can slowly reveal themselves as somebody who would be a great fit for this business. So we always have to start out with the mindset that we're not prejudging. Very, very important. So what constitutes a names list? So let's look at first name, because a lot of people are confused by this. I actually was confused by this when I started. I will give you a funny story, is that when I started, I knew, get two names a day, or get so many names a day. And something that I did was I went out, and when I would talk to people, this is how awkward I was, guys, this is how bad I was. When I would talk to people, as long as I got their name, if we were having a conversation, and I would make sure that I got their name. So we had a great conversation, and I said, okay, so, and what's your name? And they give me their name, and I say, yes, I got a name today. So this is not what getting a name means. We have to, see, this is how bad I was. You guys are all so much better than I am, really, seriously. So first name and last name, that counts as a name. If you get a first name and last name, but it counts as a name if you have a physical way of contacting them. You have to have a phone number, you have to have at least a Facebook, you have to have something, a WeChat that's going to enable you to get back in contact with them. You also can have no first name and you can have a last name. Somebody just know them by their last name. Of course, you can have somebody you know by the first name but not the last name. And you can actually have no first name, no last name. I will give you an example. Okay, I actually have memorized this because I know his real name by now. But Michael, one of my prospects on my list is Q27888 because I met him on the Q27 and I have to have some numbers so I don't confuse him with somebody else that I met on the Q27. So I have no first name and no last name, but it still counts. But when you get to know somebody, hopefully you get their first name and last name. That would be pretty bad if you didn't. So let's talk about where do you find the people? Because everybody wants to know, where do we find the people? How do we find the people? So there's you. Would you agree? And you have a circle of influence. Now, for me, when I started the business, I did not have a big circle of influence. I knew quite a few people, I would say, but people who really probably I did not like, and people who probably did not like me. A lot of them. So this is because I kind of alienated myself a lot of the times. I would just sit and do research and do things that were not social. So I didn't know a lot of people, but a lot of us, we start out with circles of influence, and I at least knew 6 people who I talked to on a frequent basis. So there we go, we start. So we have friends, hopefully, right? And if you don't have friends, then this is a great business to make some friends.
Yeah.
So we also have our neighbors. So neighbors. And the question is, have we ever talked to our neighbors? Have we ever discussed something with our neighbors? Have we made contact yet? This is great just to make friends. It pushes us out of our comfort zone to do that. Also, coworkers. I want to discuss this for a second because a lot of people, they think maybe I'll have a conflict at my job. I don't want to talk about business at my job. But if that's really how you feel, and if that is the scenario, a lot of people have that challenge, it's not a problem as a lot of us think it is, because we shouldn't be outwardly selling anyway at our job, right? So we should be exposing. We should be exposing and asking questions. So this is really fun. We have to understand that. So give you a great example. So somebody I booked to the UBP tonight, he's my coworker, is a great example of going back to never prejudging. Really didn't feel like he was business-minded when I first talked to him. Really the conversation was not going there. But we come back to eventually the conversation of, yes, I actually have thought of being an entrepreneur, I've thought of business before, and so on and so forth. So, but that's in later conversations. So I just want to relate this to some of our experiences. And of course, we have parents and we have other organizations that we belong to. So parents, let's start with parents. Parents, my mom is in the business. She was my first sponsorship, and she was my customer first. And I said, you know what, she can get products at wholesale. And I'm talking to my sponsor, does she have to be on, transfer buy even, and, all that stuff, and I'm negotiating. So, but either way, parents are great because, especially mom power, who knows about mom power? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Mom power. So, okay, and then organizations that you're a part of, you gotta, if you're not part of any organizations, join something. Join something that's of interest. You'll find all sorts of people, but churches, anywhere that your organization. And also, one thing that I really like is strangers. I'll go into that. But first is kids and relatives. I want to fill this all in. But kids and relatives. So kids, it could have been that my mom found this business first and then sponsored me, but it just happened that I found the business first. So if you have kids, think about that. It's great examples of some family business here. Sponsorship and then leading to sisters and so forth. So wonderful example that we have here with Elaine. And strangers is my favorite one because strangers, relatives goes without saying. They're your relatives. My aunt is a customer of mine. So, but strangers is something that we have to learn. Is strangers are just friends that you haven't met yet, right? That's how you have to think of it. That's what Elizabeth Weber says all the time. I think it's important to realize that. I was so uncomfortable. I want to give you some idea. I was so uncomfortable when I started this business talking to people that I used to work at St. Luke's Hospital doing patient intakes. People would call the office on the phone. I made sure that somebody else was in that office with me every single time, because if I had to pick up the phone, I had to talk to somebody. So that was how scary that was to me. If I can talk to people and make friends, I think anybody can. And if it's not based on ability, trust me, it's not based on ability.
Right.
So we want to talk about then getting into the second thing here is just crucial, is really making a phone call. And how you can think of this section is not just making a phone call, but making contact, talking and having a conversation. And how do we have a conversation? I would say just not just in the business, or not just in a business in general, but how do we make a conversation? This is really the art of how do we talk to people and really make friends. How do we show we care? We have to start with the Form HD method. And this is really family, occupation. This is all topics that we're talking about. Recreation, and money, and health, and in this business, health and dream. This is what we want to talk about. So when we're talking about these topics, we're really getting to know somebody. It's not for a purpose in mind of recruiting them or selling them a product. Well, we have to get into the habit. This is a mental habit that we have to just develop, and something, it's not even a skill set. Don't think of it as a skill set, because it's the wrong way to think about it. We have to get into the habit of being the kind of person who really is curious about people. And it's gone so far now in the business that I've gotten to the point where I am naturally curious about people. It's actually something that I love to do, is really ask people questions, find out about them. Because I think people are so interesting. Don't you guys think? Who thinks people are pretty interesting?
Yeah.
I think people are very interesting, and you can really learn a lot from every single person. So really just developing that attitude is what's going to help this not be scripted. Otherwise it sounds, what is your occupation? And how many members of your family do you have? How much money do you make? What do you like to do for fun? And are you healthy? Do you have a dream? So it's too awkward to do it like that. By the way, that's how I did it when I started. So you really have to get into the habit of just becoming a certain kind of person, and just having faith in people. I would say, I'm spending a little time on this, but don't sell people short. Give people a chance to show themselves that they have something inside them that is great, because I believe everybody does have something great in them. So just give people a chance, and these people will reveal themselves. What I want to talk about, though, is really, it's 90% listening. We have to remember this, and this is something that I already kind of covered. But another key point is that we have to find out their hot button. And again, this doesn't come from a motivation to get them into something. We just have to find out what they care about the most. Once we do that, we're set. And once we make friends, I'm going to say this way. I had a breakthrough with recruiting when I found out sponsoring, and prospecting, recruiting, and sponsoring, when I found out a perfect predictor of, because I love the scientific way of doing things, a perfect predictor, right, Elaine? Okay, so a perfect predictor of who you're going to sponsor. You know what it is? You know what it is? It's, are you friends with this person?
Yes.
If I'm friends with this person, I know I'm going to sponsor them. It's just a matter of time. It's not, it's eventually, whatever reason it is for tax, it's for whatever, and we'll go into the approaches. And that's when we go into the approaches. So we have to talk about a couple of things before we make a phone call. Because when we make a phone call, or when we talk to somebody, this is the crucial part, is that we need to have some preparation. And when we actually go into booking an appointment, and we feel the time is right, but don't take too much time. Don't overthink this process. We need to prepare a 2-minute commercial. And this is really, like JR was saying, how do we prospect, recruit, and sponsor? How do we prospect? How do we recruit? How do we sponsor? What do we say? What do I say? We have to learn all these techniques. Do we have to learn, let me ask you guys, do we have to learn a lot of techniques for recruiting? No. It's all about the 2-minute commercial, mastering it, going back to our senior partner, going back and recording it if need be, going back and asking for feedback, and structuring it again and improving it. What is our 2-minute commercial though? A lot of people, if you're new, the 2-minute commercial is your background, or your name, your background, what you do, why you do the business, and also how you got into the business, and then what you are what you are going to achieve in the business. So these components are very important because it gives somebody some idea of why you're doing what you're doing. People are more attracted to that. Isn't that true? So we want to also give some favorite product is also good in a 2-minute commercial. So favorite product, because a lot of people start the business because of a product. 50% start because of a product. I've had experiences like that. Unfranchised owners have started the business because of a product many times. So that's important. And then you also want to prepare your answer to what is it. So your answer to what is it? I actually want to do a little bit of role playing with this, not too much, but who has a really good answer to what is it? What is an answer to what is it? First of all, it's what is the business? The best answer to what is it is what makes you the most passionate. Maybe why you came into the business. What attracted you about the business? So I'll give you my answer to what is it. My standard answer to what is it. Because this is what resonates with me and my identity. So in the business. So what is it? So this business, it's an international distribution business. And what we do is we identify trends in the marketplace. We go to manufacturers and have them develop brands in those trends and then find markets for distribution. But we use a very innovative method of distribution and marketing called the shopping annuity. So that has to roll off. And when you say it confidently, you know it very well. You know what you do. The response is not, is that a pyramid? No. The response is not that. Most of the time the response is, wow, this sounds really interesting. What is that about? Right? So they want to find out more information. Does anybody have a really good what is it they think the answer to what is it? Can I put somebody on the spot? What's your answer to what is it?
It's an internet business, and it transfer to spending into learning.
Wonderful, that's good. Convert spending into earning. What about, remind me your name. Wayne, yes, Wayne. Two handsome Waynes in the crowd. Okay. So what is it?
I said that I basically say it's an internet business that's looking at current trends and going in the direction that we see the economy moving in, and it's an opportunity for you to look at something that may interest you.
Wonderful. Wow, that's really good. Let's give all these people, but I'm disturbing the mic. Okay, so now when we go into that, we're going to book the appointment. We have these prepared. Booking an appointment. What's an appointment? To sit down to show the plan, book to an HBP, show the product. What are we going to do? We have a format to this. It's very important. I only have a second. This comes from Jim Winkler, by the way, but this comes, the format, it just has to be the format, not the script. And then you want to edify, may or may not be interested, and I'm going to go through this. So let's go through these 3 steps first. When you call somebody, we have to talk about what's the reason for the call, right? And nowadays, people don't want to pick up a phone, people want to answer text. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to, if people receive a lot of texts or are used to that, then we're going to send a text beforehand saying, hey, I'm going to call, pick up my call. Okay, that's the solution to that, because we face a lot of those issues. But when we call, it's more powerful to book an appointment, hands down. Listen, I only have a second. The reason for the call is I've known you forever, and you're really great at entrepreneurship. You have a great mindset. I really trust you the most, and you're the first person who I thought of. I'm expanding a business, and you may or may not be interested. Either way is fine, but here you go into booking the appointment. I'd like to sit down with you, and when you're starting out, help me out is a great way. It would really mean a lot to me. You'd really help me out. And then, of course, 5, you want to actually tie it up. Book date and time is crucial, and location. If you don't book that, that's really not an appointment. So let's move on. That's a basic structure. I would like to do some role playing, but because of time, it's not that doable. But really understand this. You can go through this with your senior business partner. They're experts at it, trust me, and you can really get this down. Again, I did not really like phone calls either, but it's just catching up with somebody, showing them something. You have to have the posture. I want to talk about approaches, which is crucially important, because when you look at this names list, let's look at my names list again. So you look at this names list, what is on this names list? I have stuff that is meaningful to me, right? It's like color coding and stuff. Except it's not color coding. It's circled and starred. Okay, it's not color coded. It's circled and starred. So these things mean different things to me. Exactly. Well, because we both share the same issue. So color blindness. I'm not really that. He's more colorblind than I am. So with this.
Wow.
I list out all the possibilities. All the possibilities to me are just the name on the list. That's important. I start with the name on the list. I whittle it down further till I have people who I can circle. What does that mean to me? Over time, I've really refined this. I used to circle people who, they're good at sales, or they're good with this, or they're good with that. No, I don't do that anymore. Who I circle is who I have really good open communication with. I have a really good open communication with. Whether or not they've shown a business interest, I know that I have a good relationship with them. I have open communication. When we text, they text back, right? It doesn't take them 5 years to text back. So we call, or sometimes we see each other for coffee. So this is really people you circle. Because guess what? They may not be ready now, but 3 months, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, it may be the right timing, and we can show them the business or the products. And so who do I star, though? When you're going through this process of building your names list, eventually most of the people on your list are not going to be ready right now, in my experience, okay? With a cold list, at least. With a warm list, you may find tons of people, right? You may don't think any way about this, but with a cold list working just from cold market, you're going to find a lot of people who are not ready right now to go for this business. But you will find about 10%, 10 to 20% of your names list that is ready to go right now. So what do I do with that? I put a star next to their name, and then I reorganize the list later as I'm listing it out, and I put that into a top 10, a top 20. Okay, and that's what we need to do. We need to organize that list into a top 10 or 20.
Yeah.
Wow, English. I know my English problem. So I appreciate it though. So anyway, so approaches. Let's talk about approaches. You can go direct with somebody. So I'll give you an example of people on my list. So somebody on my list, hey, Richie, I'd like to show you the business. I think we could really do some business together. I'm just really simplifying this because it really should be a relaxed approach. The structure that we have right there works, but make it relaxed. Hey, Rich, I'd like to show you something. I think we could be good business partners potentially. May or may not be interested. We're friends either way. We're friends either way, no matter what, but I'd really like to show you this because I think we could do something together. So how does that sound? Does it sound like I'm selling something or it's pressuring? No. So really that's how we have to come at it. Let's talk about, that's a direct approach. What about indirect approach? Indirect approach. An indirect approach is an example of the person that I brought tonight. So I showed him the portal I'm bringing tonight. I showed him the portal once before, and that started more conversations. But then I said, hey, I'm doing presentation tonight. It's really great, and you should check out just some of the, I showed you the portal before. Check out more of the business. You might find some aspect that's really interesting to you. That's indirect. It's pretty indirect. I'm not saying, hey, we could partner up, right? So that's indirect. What are some other evaluation? When you get started with the business, the evaluation approach is really useful because you can say, hey, I just started a business. I have an event coming next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. I'd like you to evaluate it, see if you might know the right people, and boom. I'm blowing through these because I think the direct approach, as Jim Winkler says, is the most important to have. And then referral. Referral, I'm not going to spend too much time with this, but referral, you can refer people or you can ask for a referral. I know you're not interested or you're too busy, you might know the right person. But I think it's always great, the best when it comes from your heart and you're speaking directly to this person, in my experience. And also, I'll give you an example of people who are on there for products. So I could give you examples for all of these, but I don't. We'd be here all night. So, but product, I can give you specific examples for products. So one of my friends who's the manager of a restaurant, actually, the top of New World Mall, he said, his name is John Feng Tan. So, I said his name. Gosh, that's not good. John Feng. So don't go stalk him now. So John Feng. So we had more and more conversations, and he's very interested in the products that I broker. So he was very interested to know more. And I said, okay, yeah. And he said, oh, my friend over in Hong Kong, near Hong Kong, he does a lot of product brokerage, and he's interested in new products. And I said, okay, I'll give you some information. So I'm not telling him, yes, you should do the business. Check out the business. But then it's more expose. Keep on exposing the business. Keep on that you have a business. People should need to know that you have a business. And expose with the products and the shop.com. And the next conversation we're having, because I shared with him some of the conference, he said, teach me about it when you get back. I would like to know more and look into this. So that's an example of share, expose. It is a little indirect. It is based on also products, but now we can naturally come into a conversation about, let's look at the business, right? So this is great. Tax is a great approach. There's somebody who I approached about the business. Olivia and I did a 2-on-1. Stan, and he's interested. He works in corporate. Yeah, very high up in corporate jobs, like 6-figure corporate jobs. And really, he's not the right timing right now to look at this as a business. He's more focused on his career. But can we save people on tax? Yes. Can we slowly get people to realize the value of the business by at least relieving some of their tax pain, then getting them more into the system over time? This is a good approach. I've learned the value of it. And then, of course, always use and leverage the tools. So tools are very important. Always leveraging the tools. You want to do a follow-up? I'm going to mention this. 24 to 48 hours. It's from exposure to exposure. It cannot be more than 24 to 48 hours after you book the appointment, after you have the appointment. You have to have the next exposure. Very, very crucial, or they fall out of the funnel. Their thermometer, if it's 100 degrees, it goes down, cools down 10 degrees every day or more. So I want to go into, when we get started, what is one of the most important things to do is we want to build belief. And building belief is a fundamental part of the business. Why? Because belief, we're not like a McDonald's where we have golden arches and we can automatically see and believe in the business that it's got longevity and stability. We don't have, oh, I'm sorry, did everybody? Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Actually, if somebody could do you mind rewriting?
We'll send out a picture of another version, which is the same.
Okay, sorry about that. So, sorry about that, the reason why that's so important is because we're not like a traditional business where we have everything that's just available to be seen out in the open. We need to have validation on several points because it's so intangible. We have products, right, that are tangible parts of the business, and we have the training system, we have the meetings. So those are the two things that we have to use to build belief. That's number 4 on our list, is building belief. And building belief, we do it, 1, through using products. And massively using products. And what is massive use of products? It's obviously doing the shopping annuity and transferring all of our spending over, but we're talking to Amy Wu at the conference, and she's talking about the 20 caps per day OPC 3 challenges she does. And she got tremendous results doing 20 caps of OPC a day, 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And that's something I admire and now have started doing, is 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And it's really, I admire that. So we always have to upgrade our definition of what is massive product use.
Yes.
And 2 is the training. Because the training is what's going to build our attitude and knowledge and our ability. And this is everybody from every background. Even if you do have a background already, some sort of sales background, it's not the same. We need to build belief by having the training. And belief is built. Belief is crucial because it leads to the action. So we have to have the right belief. It's not just believing in ourselves, it's really believing in the system. And it's both. So, and of course, what we just came back from, our international convention, we have to attend the major events. Who just came back? Everybody just came back from our international convention. So who got their 3 World Conference tickets? Yes. Who's committed? So when we're committed to plugging back into the convention and bringing the new people with us, that's crucial as well for building belief. One thing that I think is a building block for somebody who comes into the business, huge building block, besides the names list. We do start with the names list, and we do start with building belief, but I find if people don't come into the business with this next part, with goals, then they really do not have direction. It's very easy to slip off 6 months later, or even earlier. I mean, basically, if people are not on the products, that's number 1. That's like urgency. That's their survival. I'm going to tell you right now, if we don't have people on the products, we're not on the products, that's our survival in the business.
Yes.
And if they're not on products, give it at least, latest, 90 days to be out of the business. And I'm serious about that. So when we're thinking about how we bring on new people, and we train new people, how we bring people into the business, we have to be very products oriented. Shopping annuity, let's talk about it that way. Shopping annuity, converting our spending into earning from the start. Focused. So, and then when we're doing goals and goal setting, that is the glue that really keeps us in the business because it teaches us, it gives us a direction. Now we're not just showing up to a training to show up to a training. So there are several components to this. One is, what do you want? So I never really knew what I wanted in the business when I started. So we have to, sometimes it takes us going to the trainings to really, actually not sometimes, we have to crystallize and continue to crystallize our why by continuing to plug into the trainings. I will honestly say I did not get my why strong, and my burning desire did not become clear enough to me until I really plugged into several conventions. For some people it might be one convention. some people might know exactly what they want from the start, but that's why it's so important for us to continue to plug into these GMTSS. Once we know what we want, the rest becomes very, very easy to get the business done.
Yes.
Now, when do we want it is another crucial factor. We have to actually sit and coach people. We have to be a coach. When we have to define for somebody, when do you want it? And by the way, when somebody comes into the business, would everybody agree? Everybody comes into the business for different reasons. Let's see a show of hands. Who in here has business partners or themselves have come into the business just for tax benefit?
Yep.
Okay? Somebody who came into the business just for products, raise your hand. Somebody who came into the business for sense of family, friends, the great people. Yeah. People who started off in all these different ways, and we have this experience. So sometimes people don't know what their why is right from the beginning, and it's really a coaching point from my own personal experience that we have to sit with somebody and really define the small goals, because sometimes people can't define these large goals. They can't stomach it from the start. So we have to sit down and say, well, what about shopping annuity? Can we start there? If you love the products, how about hitting shopping annuity, right? Related to something that they came into the business for. If you started for tax benefit, something else that's really valuable from this business, if you're in corporate, what about public speaking skills? You can come to some more events, you can learn from some great people how to do better public speaking, how to do better communications. Appeal it to something that they started the business for. What about somebody who started the business for all different reasons? So we have to relate it, our personal growth for somebody who started for friends or anything like that. C, sometimes you could just tell people, hey, come out and have a party. But that doesn't work with every single person. You gotta develop personality type. This is the most important question. What are you willing to overcome? And I like to say overcome rather than necessarily give up, because we do give things up, but it's more like overcoming a limitation or a limiting belief that we have. My own story in this is that I didn't know quite what it was. Amber Yang always talks about a list. We've got to shorten our list. I didn't know what my list of priorities was. I was always saying I want residual income, I want this, I want success, but I always put, for the longest time, I put this, maybe my ego above that, or how I thought of myself if I do a certain job or not a certain other job, right? Or what am I willing to do? What am I willing to prioritize in order to get what I said I want? And this is the biggest disconnect, I think. One of the biggest reasons why people quit the business is there's a disconnect between, and we don't do enough of a good job of it as leaders, of finding out what's the disconnect, continuing to communicate with them between what do they want and what they're willing to overcome. Because if they're communicating, and it's a point of communicating, if they're communicating that I want to be a field vice president in 6 months, and then they say, well, but Steve, maybe I can't really make it to that local seminar, but you agree, if you want to be a field vice president in 6 months, not only have to show up to the local seminar, you have to buy like 100 tickets to the local seminar.
Right.
Okay, so or more than the 100. You have to fill up the whole local seminar, basically. You have to buy it out. So you have to buy all the tickets. So what are you willing to overcome? It's not realistic, but can we just tell somebody, hey, that's not realistic? Is that a good communication? No, we have to say, you know what? It sounds like you're really doing a great job with, where your ambition is, where your mindset is. I really love it. What we should do, let's start with some basic stuff first. Let's start with some more basic stuff. And how about this? As we're developing and hitting these smaller goals, let's see if that big goal that you set, let's see if it isn't doable. Let's see if we can do it. And let's start with the shopping annuity. Let's start with UFO. Let's start that for 1 quarter, and then how about field vice president? We can see how realizable that is in 6 months, right? So it's really about effective communication, and we need to find out that disconnect. I think it's such an important point. Has anybody really experienced the problem with like what I'm talking about with new partners, and really the ability to communicate effectively with regards to goals, their goals and what they want. It's a crucial thing. People who has a lot of experience with this, I think all of us in here. So we also need to develop a detailed action plan. And one thing is we really need to know how to do it. So we have to have had what? A basic 5 training, which we're going to have tomorrow. But detailed action plan, we need to know how to build quarter by quarter. If they say I want to be in 6 months, I want to be here, we need to know how to break it down from shopping annuity every quarter for 2 quarters and UFO, and break it down to tickets needed, and we need to find out how many appointments we need and how many local events and so forth we need to get into in order to build that way. So we need to know the knowledge to be able to coach them. If there's any hesitation on our part on how to do that, they instantly lose the faith and the credibility in us to be able to follow us. That's why it's so crucial to be able to do it. And how do we do it? Through the training system, which, was outlined so well. Chevy did that. We need also a goal statement and a dream board. And we need to visualize where we're going to be. We need to have that clear goal statement. It has to be with our burning desire in mind. And oh wow, this is how it's been in my pocket all the time. So I have. You can see how tattered this is. It's been in my pocket. It's always in my pocket.
Yeah.
It's from taking it out, putting it back in, taking it out, putting it back in. And when I go home, I put it right next to my night table. So it's right there. When I wake up, I can read it again. So we have to have that. And I don't have time to read it, but basically...
Read it, you have time.
Oh, okay.
I'll help you.
Yeah, thank you.
And while Steve is opening up, I really do want to emphasize, when we went to LA to do another add-on training with Amy Wu's team, it's all conducted in Chinese, but he literally stayed with us and learned every single piece, and he understands Chinese now and speaks as well, right? But the main point is, when we were all living together in LA, we literally, right, May, we were all so impressed because we continued like a whole week of training back to back, morning to night. It was so hot, we were so tiring. But when we went home, everybody was like kind of like just taking a moment to settle in and relax. This guy right away take out his piece of paper, reading his goal statement. First thing in the morning, we just woke up and he's already, reading his goal statement and showering and getting ready. So we've seen how consistent he is, and that's why even with so much rejection, so many numbers, and he has continued to push his, comfort zone, right? So, please.
Okay, great. Thank you, Olivia, for all the compliments. Wow, I don't know if I can live up to it. Okay. So I am in total control of my life. Nobody controls my time nor my finances but me. When I look at my bank account, I see bountiful, plentiful money. Never again will I be a victim of not having enough money. Now I have more than enough. I do this business so I never have to look at my bank account nor my budget in order to make a decision. It is February 16th, 2018, and I am earning $6,000 per month. I've begun aggressively pay down debts, and now creditors do not worry me. I live much more comfortably and do not worry about every penny. I have a solid home training location that is clean and comfortable. I hit professional coordinator on February 16th, 2018 at a total of $4,500 in commissions, and from February 26th began earning $6,000 per month. So that is my goal statement, and it's all about the money for me. So anyway, all about the money.
Yeah.
So anyway, so let's go through quickly 10 daily to-dos. So 10 daily to-dos are a big part of this business, are a fundamental of when we set goals. Why do we have it associated with goals? Because it's part of the detailed action plan. We start from a quarter, then we work down to daily.
Yep.
Whatever our goal is in the business, we need to stick to the 10 daily to-dos. And let's name them. Let's go through them really fast. One, obviously, is using the products.
Yes.
And massively. Two, we want to read our goal statement,
Yes.
right? We want to listen to the audios 15 minutes a day. And we also want to read our career manual. So I read 1 page a day, and when I'm done, I start from the beginning and then start reading again 1 page a day. So you can do 1 page a day, you can do 15 minutes, but the point is just consistency with something that you can do. We also want to browse our own shop.com. Why? Because we own the business. We have to always be looking at how our back office works. If we're not familiar with something, to be asking about it. If we're not familiar with a deal, there are always new deals. There are always new partner stores. There are always new things happening, updates on our shop.com, so we have to be familiar with it. And also, we have our what are called action items. A lot of these are the personal growth activities.
Yeah.
These are what are going to set the foundation. If we don't have these, we can't do. This was my mistake. I'll tell you, 1.5 years of doing what I'm about to show you, which is the 3-1-2, call 3 people and book 1 appointment, and get 2 new names. So we think of this as the sexy kind of part, right? Like this is the action stuff, right? I can tell you that I did this for 1.5 years in the business, and I got active.